Chapter 1. The Arrival in Chester. The air bites, Aunt, I said, stepping from the carriage and drawing my cloak close. Bath never scolded one's cheeks so sharply. My dear Eleanor, Aunt Penelope laughed, taking my hands. Chester teaches roses to bloom by reprimand. Welcome home. Home? I smiled. You elevate my spirits with your optimism. Optimism? No. Practice, she replied. We have hot tea, a cheerful fire, and your uncle practicing patience while the kettle boils. Practicing? I looked toward the doorway as Uncle Edmund appeared, spectacles tilted. Uncle, you look very much the model of serenity. My serenity, he said, kissing my brow, rests on the precise moment tea meets cup. Come inside before the northwest convinces you to turn around. Gladly, I said, passing into their modest townhouse. How pretty your hall looks. Is that a spray of holly? It is, and your aunt insists upon it in February, he replied. She says it keeps our spirits upright. Upright spirits and upright chair backs, Aunt said, guiding me into the parlor. Sit, Eleanor. Tell me of your journey. Tell me of everything. Everything would require 3 pots, I said, warming my hands near the fire. But I will begin with gratitude. Thank you for having me. Having you? Aunt squeezed my shoulder. We plotted your arrival like a heist and triumphed without a single constable. Your aunt exaggerates, Uncle murmured. We only bribed the pastry cook to save his best buns. I shall be in debt forever, I said, breathing the steam of tea. If I had known the North could smell of cinnamon, I would have come sooner. Cinnamon is our local pride, Aunt said. That and gossip. Chester's news travels faster than coaches. Speaking of which, Aunt, I warned, laughing, allow me 1 cup before you pour me into conversation. 1 cup, 2 buns, and then calamity, she promised. What think you of the street? We have neighbors who bow like church steeples, and others who nod as if each greeting were a coin they cannot spare. I met both kinds between the post road and your door, I said, and one young boy who offered to carry my valise for half my future fortune. Ambition begins at 8, Uncle said. He shall be mayor before he learns to spell it. Miss, a maid curtsied in the doorway, cheeks pink from the kitchen heat. I am Sarah. I made up your room. I hope you like the quilt. Sarah, I like you already, I said. Quilts in Bath lie like flattery. I prefer the honest weight of one made for warmth rather than show. Then Chester will suit, she replied, pleased. Shall I take your cloak now, miss? Yes, thank you, I said, unfastening it. And thank you, Aunt, for the ribbon on the pillow. I recognized your favorite blue. My favorite blue recognized you, Aunt said. Now, calamity. There is a gentleman you must be warned about. Warned, I took another sip. Have I stepped into a novel? All life here is properly bound and paginated, Uncle said. Nevertheless, listen to your aunt. His name is Mr. Nathaniel Harcourt, Aunt said. Old family, new money's polish, handsome in the severe way of a portrait that refuses to smile. Severe handsomeness is no calamity, I said lightly. Does he ruin fortunes? He ruins afternoons, she replied, eyes dancing. He speaks little, bows perfectly, and sends young ladies home to consider whether they imagine his courtesy. Pride is his favorite waistcoat. Pride, Uncle said, and a very good horse. Is he unkind? I asked. Not unkind, Aunt said, more thoughtful. Merely measured. He believes he guards a citadel of sense against the world's follies. The difficulty is that he counts any unfamiliar flower a weed. So he would dismiss me as a southern weed, I said, smiling. We shall not quarrel, for we shall not meet. Eleanor, Chester is no London labyrinth, Aunt replied. You will meet him before your teacup cools. Then I shall drink quickly, I said, and set it down. When next must I submit to society? This afternoon, Uncle said. A gentle promenade along the river. Few carriages, many remarks. Many remarks? I rose. Very well. I will arm myself with gloves and mild opinions. Bring also your patience, Aunt said, fastening the clasp at my throat. And your bonnet's most forgiving angle. Forgiving angles being my speciality, I said. Come, let us go see if Chester approves of me. The question, Uncle said, offering my muff, is whether you will approve of Chester. Chester must first show me its bridges, I answered. I refuse to commit to a city whose stones I have not inspected. Spoken like a Whitcomb, he said, pleased. We turned out into the pale winter light. Look to the walls. Aunt said. They ring us like an old wedding band. And there, do you see the river's bend? I do, I said. It looks as though the D forgot to hurry and now pretends it never meant to. She never hurries for anyone, Aunt said. Only the young hurry. Look, Mrs. Peebles hurries now because her tongue cannot keep up with her scandal. Mrs. Peebles, a small round woman cried, arriving with a flutter. Mrs. Whitcomb, your niece? My felicitations on her complexion. You are kind, I said, curtsying. I am newly arrived and willing to be improved. Improvement is most of our economy, she said briskly. You must be warned. Oh, but your aunt has warned you. Harcourt walks today. Does Mr. Harcourt own the river? I asked gently. He owns the effect he has upon it, she replied, fanning herself without a fan. He looks into water as if expecting it to clear itself. Then his expectations will be disappointed, I said. Rivers like a little mischief, I think. Listen to that, Mrs. Peebles turned to Aunt. Already she speaks with a saucy wisdom. I approve. Miss Whitcomb, should you meet Mr. Harcourt, remember 3 rules. Accept his bow, question his opinions, and never show that you are stung. I will write them on my glove, I said. Better still, write them on your heart, she declared, then wheeled away toward fresh prey. Eleanor, Aunt murmured, amused, you see how swiftly one is furnished with instruction. I prefer instruction to indifference, I said. Indifference chills worse than the wind. The wind, Uncle said from behind, begs to differ. Then let us walk faster, I replied. We reached the path beneath the stone arches, and the river slipped by like a secret. There, Aunt said softly, do not stare, but observe. Mr. Harcourt. I am not staring, I whispered. I am recalibrating my bonnet. Recalibrate your expression, she whispered back. He approaches. Mrs. Whitcomb, said a deep, composed voice. Good afternoon. Mr. Harcourt, Aunt replied. May I present my niece, Miss Eleanor Whitcomb, lately of Bath. Miss Whitcomb, he said, bowing with impeccable correctness. Welcome to Chester. Sir, I said, curtsying. Invitation. Hospitality, he said, straightening, is a regional habit. The North prides itself upon it. Pride, I echoed, looking up. Then I hope to deserve it. Desert, he said calmly, is not required of a guest. Yet it improves the visit, I answered, meeting his gaze. He studied me a fraction longer than politeness demanded. Perhaps, he said, and turned slightly to the river. The D is high. It thinks itself important after last week's snow. Rivers are allowed their opinions, I said. They are, he replied. Opinions become dangerous only when they fancy themselves facts. Then I shall keep mine in a modest dress, I said lightly. Modesty, he said, with the ghost of something like amusement, is always in fashion. Mr. Harcourt, Aunt interposed, cheerful. You must allow my niece one immodesty. She admires the bridges without restraint. They merit admiration, he said. Stone keeps its promise longer than men. I hope to prove the exception, Uncle said, catching up. Harcourt, how do you do? I do well, Mr. Whitcomb, he replied, bowing again. Miss Whitcomb, I am happy to see you endure our cold. I endure, sir, I said, and thank you. Endurance, he said, with a brief inclination, is the first friendship the North offers. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, I returned. He moved on with unhurried steps, the river glinting beyond him. Aunt, I said quietly when he had passed. Your portrait was accurate. Severe handsomeness, she teased. Measured, rather, I said. He wears his reserve like armor. I wonder how heavy it is. Some men prefer armor to hearts, Uncle said. I prefer honest weight, I answered, looking up at the arches. Stone, quilts, friendships, anything that keeps its promise. And your first promise, Aunt asked, looping her arm through mine. To walk, I said, smiling, and to let Chester make its case. This, Chapter 2, a ball at the assembly rooms. Aunt, I said, while Sarah pinned the last curl. If my bonnet could curtsy, it would ask the musicians for mercy. Your bonnet is staying home, Aunt laughed. Your eyes must do the curtsying tonight. Then I hope they remember the steps, I said. Uncle, is the carriage ready? It is, he replied. And if the assembly rooms are not, we shall declare them so. Declare away, I said, taking Aunt's arm. I intend to be pleased. Be pleased sparingly, Aunt teased. It is considered elegant. I will ration delight to appropriate quantities, I'll promised. At the entrance, I breathed the warm rush of candlelight and violins. It is lovely, I whispered. Say it louder, Uncle smiled. Let the floorboards hear. Miss Whitcomb, Mrs. Peebles pounced, feathers trembling. Welcome to the battlefield. Have you partners? I have courage, I said. And a tolerable ear. Courage is of limited use if no one asks, she said. Mr. Rowley, do your duty. Miss Whitcomb, said a cheerful gentleman with a kind smile. May I beg the first set? You may, I said. I consent with gratitude. On the floor, he bowed. I am told you are newly from Bath. I am told I am newly to everything, I replied. Is the figure difficult? Only to those who try to think, he said. Move before thought catches you. Wise counsel, I smiled. I shall borrow it often. We turned and crossed. Do you find Chester agreeable? He asked. I find it brisk, I said. I am learning to keep pace. Then Chester will learn you, he laughed. We improve what we admire. Ambitious city, I said. I hope to improve it in return. After the set, he bowed again. May I place my name for another? You may, I said, and he beamed. Miss Whitcomb, said a quieter gentleman, thin and pale. Pritchard at your service. Might I? You might. I said kindly. Which figure? The third, he replied. I never trust the second. I promise to guide you past it, I said. We will pretend it never existed. We danced. You step lightly, he ventured. I am a contrarian, I said. I step heavy, only in conversation. Then I envy your friends, he murmured, pleased. Between sets, Aunt pressed a lemon ice into my hand. How fares the campaign? I am improving Chester, I said. It resists with good manners. Keep your forces cheerful. She winked. The enemy is boredom. Then we are victorious, I said, and turned, straight into Mr. Harcourt's bow. Miss Whitcomb, he said, composed as a seal on parchment. Mrs. Whitcomb, Mr. Whitcomb. Mr. Harcourt, I said, curtsying. Are you to dance or to supervise? I prefer the order of a room to the disorder of a reel, he replied. Then you will admire me, I said. I am notoriously orderly. Are you? His eyes held a glint that might have been mockery or interest. I should have said mercurial. Mercury keeps time, I answered. That is why we carry it in our watches. Touché, Uncle murmured, enjoying himself. Miss Whitcomb, said Mr. Rowley, hurrying back. So give me, am I in time to claim the second? You are in fortune, I said, taking his arm. Mr. Harcourt, we shall leave you to your observations. Do, he said mildly. I should hate to interrupt. On the floor, Mr. Rowley whispered, he never dances. Never? I asked. He considers it a municipal hazard, Rowley grinned. Men might step on him. Then his boots enjoy peace unknown to mine, I said. We turned, cast, and crossed. Do you like him? Rowley asked, eager for gossip. I have not decided, I said. He appears allergic to warmth. He is better than he appears, Rowley replied. But the appearance is stubborn. During the country dance, I felt the steady press of eyes from the edge. Harcourt's, cool as frosted glass. After, Pritchard returned. Miss Whitcomb, the third is now safe. Then let us risk it, I said. We moved through the figure. If you are fatigued, he murmured, I will surrender you to a chair. I prefer to surrender to music, I said. Chairs are poor partners. True, he smiled. Chairs never improve. When the set ended, I fanned my cheeks and caught Mrs. Harcourt approaching with graceful speed. My dear Miss Whitcomb, she said warmly. How well you dance. You are generous, I said. I survive. You do more, she insisted. You make the room feel brighter. Will you take a turn with me? With pleasure, I said, and we paced the edge. My son is insufferable this evening, she confided, amused. He pretends he does not want to dance. He pretends very convincingly, I said. He is not always so, she added softly. Sometimes he is worse. You speak like a mother who knows his virtues too well to fear his faults, I said. I love him, she replied simply. I hope others will find a way to forgive him. That suggests a long list of offenses, I said, smiling. Mostly omissions, she said. I am keeping it, I said lightly. We moved on. The river bent like a thought that refused to be hurried. Miss Whitcomb, Harcourt said, approaching at my left, mind your footing where the stones pitch. The parapet appears higher than it is. I prefer the appearance, I said. It flatters my courage. Your courage does not require flattery, he answered. Only a hand when the wind chooses to argue. I accept the wind's argument, I said, though I steadied with a palm to the cold stone. Take my arm, he offered, not pressing the point. I am sufficiently anchored, I replied. Anchors are vain, he said dryly. They boast of holding ships that never meant to move. You will never forgive the South its harbors, I said. I forgive the South everything but its sensibilities, he returned. They are raised in hothouses and faint at a draught. My sensibilities, I said, heat rising despite the cold, walk in a bonnet and eat plain buns. Then they are honorable exceptions, he said evenly. I spoke generally. You insist on particulars. I am particular about being dismissed in general, I answered. Then let us be precise, he said. You keep your balance where many would not. And allow me to keep my temper also, I replied. Gladly, he said, a brief inclination. I did not ask for it. Children, Mrs. Peebles sang back over her shoulder. Do play nicely. We are within earshot of the cathedral. The cathedral has survived more quarrels than ours, Aunt said softly to me. Save your best retort for later. I keep it for when I am warm, I whispered. Mr. Harcourt, Uncle interposed with cheerful diplomacy. Is that the line of the old fortress? It is the memory of it, Harcourt said, grateful to change subject. The plan remains even when the stones go into chimneys. The Romans imagined order, and the centuries made a compromise. Compromise is my favorite architecture, Aunt said. It lets the eye rest. Compromise, Harcourt replied, is virtuous in stone and tiresome in men. You prefer extremes? I asked. I prefer consistency, he said. It lowers one's blood. Then you must admire the river, I said. It is obstinately itself. I admire anything that means what it does, he answered, including, on occasion, a remark. Meaning? I asked. Meaning you speak as you see, he said. It is not common. Another compliment, Rowley breathed. We shall all go faint from such weather. Do not faint, Mr. Rowley, I said. We shall be obliged to carry you to a bench, and I doubt the bench's character. Benches, Pritchard observed. I confirmed gossips. They have heard too much. Speaking of gossip, Mrs. Peebles cried, do we not all admire the amphitheater where someone's cousin was overcome by a curate last summer? That was a wasp, not a curate, Aunt said. But the mistake is forgivable. I never confuse a wasp with a curate, Uncle murmured. Curates are less industrious. Miss Whitcomb, Mrs. Harcourt's voice sounded behind us, warm and amused. I said to myself, if I follow my son, I shall find good company, and behold, I was right. Mrs. Harcourt, I said, curtsying with real pleasure, your accuracy is lovable. Only occasionally, she laughed, taking my hand. Nathaniel, do not lecture, the walls that survived without your help. They survive by agreeing with me, he said, and almost smiled. Agree with your mother instead, she returned. You can lecture her when I am gone. I never lecture you, he said, softer. I obey you at cost. You heard that? She whispered to me, with a conspirator's twinkle. He is extravagant when he cares. I am glad of his economy at present, I said. We cannot afford feelings on a wind like this. Then let us afford views, she said. Miss Whitcomb, what do you observe? I observe a city that keeps its promises, I replied. Streets that remember where they were going, a river that will not be hurried, and people who tell me what I feel before I have the leisure to feel it. Spoken like a northern proverb, she said approvingly. Nathaniel, do not look so pleased. It is not about you. It is about her, he said simply. She measures quickly. I measure slowly when I am allowed, I said. You're allowed, he returned. You may claim as much time as you like, only do not mistake our air for unkindness. I do not, I said. I mistake remarks for verdicts. Then consider mine withdrawn, he said, and replaced by an observation. Your step is well judged, your eye is better. Accepted, I said, after a beat, with interest. We turned the angle of the wall. The wind paused to listen. Shall we descend by the river? Aunt proposed, and spare our cheeks another sermon? Down by the steps, Uncle agreed. Mrs. Peebles, if you tumble, accuse the century, not the masonry. I shall accuse fashion, she declared. It invented slippers for winter, which is treason. At the stair, the party arranged itself into a courteous muddle of hands and warnings. Allow me, Harcourt said, offering his arm once more. I am sufficiently anchored, I repeated, placing my fingers lightly and removing them at the second step. Thank you. Not at all, he said, withdrawing as quickly. I prefer prevention to rescue. I prefer neither to speeches, I replied. Then we are both content, he said. At the bottom, Mrs. Harcourt pressed my hand. Come tomorrow for tea, she murmured. I shall tell you all the scandals that are kind. I shall believe half, I smiled, and enjoy all. You are wise, she said, and moved on with Aunt to admire a hawker's oranges. Miss Whitcomb, Harcourt said, pausing with me, a little apart. I spoke clumsily. You spoke generally. I answered. I objected particularly. Then we are even, he said. I offer a truce and a recommendation. Gloves thicker than nose. I accept the recommendation, I said. The truce will depend on future weather. I will endeavor to improve both, he replied, the faintest warmth in his tone. Good morning. Good morning, I said, dipping my head. We rejoined the others with smiles no one trusted. The river kept its own counsel. The party thinned into errands and polite excuses. At last Aunt tucked my arm into hers. Well? Polite, I said. And strained, she added. And finished, I concluded. For the morning, she said. For the morning, I agreed. And let the wind explain nothing. Circle and descend. Chapter 4. Letters, Invitations, and Impressions. Sarah, I called, hearing the post at the door. Is that for Aunt or for me? For you, miss, she said, cheeks bright from the morning, a nice hand and a nicer seal. A seal can flatter a letter, I said, breaking the wax. Let us see if the contents deserve the ribbon. What says it? Aunt asked, pouring chocolate. It says, I read, smiling despite myself. My dear Miss Whitcomb, if you will indulge a widow's partialities, pray take tea with me this afternoon at 4. I promise warm fire, warmer talk, and no lecture from my son unless you request it. Yours, Augusta Harcourt. Warm talk and no lecture, Aunt laughed. You will be in heaven at 4. I will be in Harcourt House at 4, I replied, folding the note. Is it wise? It is kind, she said. Kindness is wisdom with gloves on. Uncle, I called, do I accept? You do, he answered from his paper. You will discover whether the family's good sense resides where it usually does, with the mother. Then I accept, I said, reaching for pen. How do I decline a lecture in advance? By deserving none, Aunt teased. Wear the dove gray. It tells the world you listen before you speak. At 4, I said, signing my name. I shall listen so hard the tea will feel complimented. Harcourt House, the footman announced. And the door opened on warmth and beeswax. Miss Whitcomb, Mrs. Harcourt said, rising with such sweetness that I felt foolish for having braced myself. You have brought Chester a better afternoon. You are generous, I said, curtsying. I have only brought my curiosity and obedient gloves. Then we are well matched, she smiled. I have brought jam and disobedient opinions. Sit near the fire. Do you take lemon? I take whatever you recommend, I answered, settling. Your room is very cheerful. It insists upon being so, she said, nodding toward the windows. I tell myself that light is not immoderate, even in winter. Light is never immoderate, I said. Only honest. Then we are friends already, she replied, handing me a delicate cup. Tell me first what you will not tell anyone else. Do you like our city? I like its candor, I said. It states its case in stone and expects one to read. And does my son state his case? She asked, amused. Or only his verdict? He states his case as a magistrate might, I said carefully. Briefs, evidence, and a conclusion that looks as though it cannot remember being young. She laughed, softly proud. You describe him. He has been older than his years since he was 21. 21, I echoed. That is a hard age for age. It is, she said, and stirred her tea with absent fondness. His father took ill. Accounts arrived like rude callers. Tenants needed roofs more than compliments, and one learns under such circumstances to cut extravagance first from one's speech. Roofs before compliments, I repeated, tasting the jam. This jam forgives all severity. It forgave mine long ago, she said. Do you like it? I adore it, I said. What fruit is discipline made of? Gooseberries, she smiled. They prick until they sweeten. Nathaniel's father adored plans and disliked sums. Nathaniel reversed the fashion and kept us solvent. Solvent becomes a romance when told by a mother, I said. You sound as if duty has tenderness hidden in its pocket. It has, she said gently, though my son sometimes mislays the pocket. You must help me forgive him when he does. I am still deciding whether to forgive him for preferring accuracy to amusement, I replied. Prefer both, she advised. He will meet you halfway, sooner than you think. Does he like company? I asked. He dislikes performances, she said. Company itself, he can love it if it permits truth and tolerates silence. I am capable of both, I said, though I prefer truth with a laugh to truth with a hammer. He likes hammers, she said ruefully, then brightened. But you should know the better stories. When the river rose last spring and men argued whether to wait or mend, he sent for wood and did not wait. When old Mrs. Fletcher would not leave her cottage for the surgery, he put her in his own carriage and sat in the kitchen like an obedient nephew while she was seen. He sat in the kitchen? I asked, startled into liking him. He sat and burnt his tongue on tea, she laughed. He did not complain. Only afterward, to me, in a tone that pretended not to want comfort. Duty in a kitchen sounds almost human, I said. It is entirely human, she returned. His faults are human too. He keeps them polished. Pride, most of all. I have seen it, I said. It reflects the room and leaves one uncertain whether one was ever in it. Ah, she nodded, pleased with my phrasing. You see clearly. He thinks pride keeps him from bending where he ought not. I tell him it prevents him from bowing where he should. And does he bow to you? I asked. He kneels to me, she said lightly. But then I am his mother. And you invited me to tea, I said. Which is the better theology? Then have another bun, she declared, pressing the plate. Tell me about Bath. Did the crescents behave? Did the ladies float? They floated with determination, I said. I left before I learned to drift without effort. You will learn to stand without apology here, she answered. Chester expects you to look it in the face. I am practicing, I said. Your tea improves my posture. Tea is my cure for everything, she smiled, except my son. You use gooseberry jam for him, I said. I use patience, she corrected, and the occasional rebuke delivered with a kiss. He is not unkind, he is careful. Careful can bruise, I murmured. It can, she agreed, and yet it can also carry a house on its back when charm would drop the beams. He will never say so, but he thinks for three when others think for one. Thinking for three leaves little breath for conversation, I said. He borrows mine, she smiled. Will you lend him yours, sometimes? If he asks civilly, I said, and felt my cheeks warm. And if he remembers I am not from a hothouse. He remembers, she said softly. He remembers more than he says. A footstep crossed the hall. A door murmured. The room seemed to listen. Is that? I began. Only his boots, she said, amused. He promised to let us talk without the risk of improvement. Nathaniel, she called, raising her voice only a note. Do not come in if you intend to supervise the tea. I intend no such thing, came his voice from somewhere farther. Dry as good toast. You see, she whispered, even toast is listening. Miss Whitcomb, you must tell me what books you like. I cannot live on my son's histories alone. I like histories that remember to laugh, I said, and novels that remember to forgive. Then you must take home a small volume, she replied. A curate wrote it under a false name. I approve of his honesty. A curate with a secret, I smiled. He must be fashionable. He is poor, she said. That is more fashionable still. You tempt me to stay all afternoon, I said, rising reluctantly as the clock chimed. But Aunt will scold me for disrespecting punctuality. Bring your aunt to scold me instead, she said, rising with me. I will bring her, I promised. And I will bring thicker gloves to convince your son I am not a southern malady. Bring your own mind, she said, pressing both my hands. It suits you. You are very kind, I managed, embarrassed by how much it mattered. Thank you for telling me the better stories. Thank you for hearing them, she returned. Go now before I adopt you and mortify Nathaniel into speech. Good afternoon, I said, laughing. I will practice standing without apology. Do, she said, and leave with this. He is better than his pride. But keep your heart where it cannot be bruised by his learning. I will keep it, I said, and perhaps one day I will lend it a little. On excellent terms, she smiled. I approve of prudence in young ladies and extravagance in old ones. Good day, my dear. Outside, the air pinched my cheeks back into sense. Well? Aunt asked when I came in, unfastening my pelisse. Was she as perfect as my imagination? She was kinder, I said, standing very still by the fire. She showed me where the pride comes from and where it refuses to go. And you? She asked gently. Where does your judgment intend to go? I will put it on a shelf, I said. I will dust it. I will not throw it away. And your heart? She murmured. My heart, I said, hearing again the footstep in the hall and the mother's laugh, will stay in its sensible room, with the window open and the door locked. Ready. Chapter 5. An Unexpected Rescue. Aunt, I promise I shall not purchase the entire market, I said, fastening my cloak. Only a ribbon, a loaf, and the particular oranges Mrs. Harcourt praised. Return with yourself unbruised, Aunt answered, tying my bonnet tighter. The cobbles are ice pretending to be stone. I will walk like a sermon, I said, grave and improving. Walk like a cat, she replied. Grave sermons fall. I shall be feline, I laughed. Uncle, do you require anything? Only your safe return, he said. And, if the market insists, a paper of gingerbread to keep me from philosophy. Gingerbread is the better system, I said. I go. The street pinched my cheeks awake. Good day, miss, the apple woman called. Russets, sweet as weddings. I am not yet married to your apples, I said, smiling. But we may be engaged. Make it official, she grinned, weighing a bag. Careful there, the crossing's slick as a curate's excuse. I shall tread as if truth were beneath me, I said, shifting my basket. 2 russets and your blessing. You have both, she replied. Mind the turn by the fishmonger. The sun never reaches it. I will mind it more than he minds his manners, I said, edging along the stalls. Good morning, Mr. Barker. Your loaves look like obedient soldiers. They march straight to comfort, he said, wrapping one in paper. No discounts for compliments. You pay with coin. I pay gladly, I answered, counting out pennies. And I leave crusts to my conscience. Leave them to your uncle, he chuckled. He devours scruples. I bring him gingerbread to bribe his morals, I said, stepping away. Miss Whitcomb? Mrs. Peebles materialized from shawls. You circulate like a rumor. Buy nothing from the man with the blue cap. He sells regrets. I already own enough, I said. Will the assembly rooms forgive my absence if I purchase ribbons instead of partners? Partners forgive nothing, she declared. Ribbons forgive everything. Careful. I began, and my foot slid where the shadow had kept its secret. Oh. A firm hand caught my elbow. Another steadied my waist. Stand, a quiet voice said. Breathe. The ground will consider its behavior. I consider mine first, I managed, finding my feet while the world performed a brief reel. Thank you. Do not thank me, Mr. Harcourt said, still anchoring me with unembarrassed strength. Thank friction when it remembers its duty. I cannot invite friction to tea, I said, trying for lightness and failing. But I can, if you will release me, stand very still and practice gratitude. It hesitates, I admitted, hearing the quick fuss of the market hush to watch. My pride would like to walk. My ankle proposes negotiation. Accept the ankle's terms, he said. Bench, he added, to me, or to the air, and guided me 2 steps to a low seat by the poulterer's shutters. Sit. I am not fond of obedience delivered as a command, I said, sitting. But I am fonder still of not falling. Your preferences are rational, he answered, crouching without ceremony to examine the offending boot. May I? You may, if you promise to call my sensibilities hardy, I said, and not of southern glass. They are of seasoned oak, he said at once, touching lightly above the leather. Pain? Indignation first, I said, wincing, then a small honesty. Then we will heat honesty and feed indignation, he replied, standing. Barker, your clean cloth. Jen, chestnuts. And you, sand for the crossing, now. I am not your groom. The man with the blue cap muttered. You are the city's, Harcourt said. Coin already in hand. Prove it and be paid twice. I shall mend the ground myself, Mrs. Peebles cried, brandishing a ridiculous handkerchief. Miss Whitcomb, you fell with such elegance that half the street proposed. I prefer standing to proposals, I said faintly, as warm paper cones and a folded cloth arrived by miracle. Thank you. Hold this, Mr. Harcourt said, pressing the chestnuts into my hands. Heat travels slowly through pride, but quickly through fingers. I like the philosophy, I said, feeling my palms sting into comfort. But do you always rearrange the world in a minute? Only when it is badly arranged, he said. Barker, the cloth. I am perfectly capable of tying my own, I began. You are, he said, softer. But you are not obliged to, and wrapped the cloth with a cautious efficiency that ignored the watching faces and my foolish pulse. Sir, I whispered, subdued by the steadiness in his touch. You will make the city jealous. It is not accustomed to such attention. It ought to be, he replied, drawing back. How is the ankle now? It considers forgiveness, I said, flexing. Aunt will forgive nothing if I return limping. Aunt will forgive everything if you return warm, he said, half smiling. Drink. I do not drink street remedies, I protested, even as he produced a small tin from somewhere impossible. You drink kindness. He said of the vendor's tisane. It contains cinnamon and the virtue of busy hands. I will drink that, I conceded, sipping. I do not detect pride. I left it at home, he said, straight and practical. Pride is useless on ice. Then you do own some, I said, because habit reached for the old quarrel. I own too much, he answered, unoffended. I try to spend less. I saw you spend coin instead, I said, nodding at the men spreading sand like contrition. Thank you for bribing the ground. I prefer prevention to rescue, he replied. But I accept both when necessary. Then accept my thanks, I said, meeting his eyes because I could not avoid them. I should be very foolish to withhold them. Be foolish in other ways, he said, and looked away first. Laugh too much. Refuse bad oranges. Avoid blue cats. I shall obey the last, I said. The others I negotiate. Negotiate in my presence, he said. I bargain better. You bargain like a magistrate, Mr. Rowley's voice chimed, delighted and intrusive. Miss Whitcomb, I ran when I saw the commotion. You sit like a queen commanding chestnuts. I sit like a sensible girl obeying caution, I said, still cradling the heat. Mr. Harcourt commanded the chestnuts. I take only the credit. Take the bench too, Rowley laughed. It remembers you kindly. It remembers me as nearly horizontal, I said. And me as useful, Harcourt added dryly. Which is as much as I ask of benches. Say you'll allow me to escort you home, Rowley pleaded. It will improve my reputation for courage. I require neither courage nor escort, I said, testing my ankle again. I require 5 more minutes and an obedient street. The street is reformed, Harcourt observed, watching the last of the sand fall. Will you try? I will rise if you do not appear to judge the attempt, I said. I will appear to think of nothing, he replied, stepping aside just enough that I felt attended and not examined. I am up, I announced, standing carefully. I am upright. I am almost vain. Do not be vain, he said, but there was warmth where there used to be ice. Take my arm to the carriage stand and be vain there. I prefer to arrive under my own authority, I said, taking his arm anyway. Authority sometimes accepts assistance. Authority improves when it does, he answered, matching his pace to the smallest truth of my steps. Rowley, run ahead and secure a seat. Miss Whitcomb will not thank us for a parade. I will make it a triumph, Rowley called, delighted to be useful. Mr. Harcourt, I said more quietly, I will not pretend you did me a small service. I will not pretend it cost me anything, he said. Are you in pain? Injured pride, I said, and gratitude that refuses to find a sarcastic cloak. Leave it uncloaked, he said. It sips the weather. You do not perform your kindness, I blurted. You present it like bread. Bread serves, he said simply. Applause wastes. Then I will not applaud, I murmured. I will apply it. You will apply gingerbread, Rowley shouted from the stand. I bought some to celebrate your survival. I accept the remedy, I called back, smiling despite everything. It cures philosophy. It improves cities, Harcourt said, steady at my side. Mrs. Whitcomb will scold me if you arrive pale. She will scold me first, I said, for attempting to balance a basket, a bun, and my dignity. Let me carry the dignity, he answered, relieving me of the basket with a motion that made the watching world a little smaller and the air a little warmer. You will drop nothing, I said, climbing into the hired seat with care. Will you? I drop only my better chances, he said, handing up the basket and stepping back. Today I keep one. I am the chance? I asked, startled. You are the person who did not fall, he said. Which suits you. Good morning. Mr. Harcourt, I said, catching his sleeve with a courage I pretended belonged to the chestnuts. Thank you. You thank me already, he replied. Keep your thanks for the man who spread the sand. He does the city's work. You do it too, I said. Sometimes, he allowed, and bowed in that unshowy way that used to irritate me and now looked a little like shyness. Drive, Rowley urged the man, thrilled. Victory to gingerbread. Victory to prevention, I said, settling. And to men who rescue without speeches. And to women who permit it, Harcourt answered. Clear enough for me and quiet enough for everyone else. Good day. Chapter 7. The Snowstorm. Aunt, I said, tying my bonnet, I'll stop at the charity rooms and be back before dusk. Be back before the sky decides for you, she replied. I will, I promised, and went with a basket. Wool and rolls, I told the parish matron. Keep warm by talking. Mind the sky, she warned. Snow began as ash, then turned fierce. Be modest, I told it. It erased the road. Miss Whitcomb, a boy called. The main street sulks. Which way forgives? The mill lane. Shorter, colder. I took the lane and met a wall of white. A voice cut through. Eleanor, Mr. Harcourt called. To the hedge, here. There's a small inn at the turn, he added, steadying me. Cold tyrannizes, lead on. The sign creaked, the door grudged. Heat forgave us. 2 places by the fire, he told the keeper. Only this parlor, the man said. Then the snow is our chaperone, I said, stamping my toes. Tea, Harcourt added, and anything that lies about being hot. You didn't hesitate, I said. I don't hesitate in storms, he said. You're angry with me, he said. I'm instructed, I replied. What did it teach? That I'm an arithmetic problem for Chester, I said. Solved without a dowry and exhibited in a window. I tried to break the window, he said. You spoke of sparing me. I spoke of starving gossip, he answered. Had I hurried at you, They'd say I purchased goodness cheap. I won't let our talk be coin. You could have said so to me. I should have, he admitted. Pride spent my honesty elsewhere. The tea arrived, the keeper withdrew. Say it plainly, I said. Were you refusing me? I was refusing a parade, he said. Not you. You count every step, I said. It exhausts me. I counted the ice, he said, voice warmer. Tongues, my mother's quiet, your peace. I miscounted your hurt. You defend well, I said. You wound when defending. Then let me defend you from my defense, he replied. Give me the words. Under the bridges. You said you'd be prudent on my behalf. I said I'd be prudent on every side of you, he corrected. Real prudence doesn't shame what it guards. You shamed me. I did, he said. I grieve it. I dislike being anyone's lesson, I said. You are not my lesson, he answered. You are my measure. When I'm wrong, I find it faster by looking at you. You caught me when I fell, I said. You wrapped my ankle and commanded chestnuts. That felt like truth. It was truth, he said. Also truth. I don't think of you as scarcity. I think of you as sufficiency. I don't want worship, I said. Only regard without performance. I have no appetite for theater, he returned. I want long work, roofs mended, tempers saved, mornings shared. Will you forgive my short work? Forgiveness isn't a coin, I said. It's a chair. Sit when the legs are sound. Test them. Lean, he said, offering silence and a steady hand around the tea. My anger brought few belongings, I said. It travels light. Send it elsewhere. It prefers me, I said, but I smiled. I won't ask for truce if you want battle, he said. I'll stand and be struck. I want sentences finished. Then let me finish one. He met my eyes. I admire you because you choose meaning over display. When I said I'd spare you, I meant spectacle, not happiness. I won't spare us happiness. Your grammar improves in bad weather, I said. Your mercy improves it, he answered. The keeper brought stew. Eat. Sir, I said. Your severity is thin. My severity is fasting. It can't, I answered, pushing him the heavier bowl. Severity faints like vanity. We ate, the storm punished the road. The fire taught our hands to live. Eleanor, he said, laying down his spoon. If I'm to deserve you, I must be braver by daylight than in corners. I'll begin where people see. Begin with Mrs. Peebles, I said. Her seeing equals 12 citizens. I'll begin with the first 2 dances, he said. And a walk no one can miss here. Don't promise spectacle, I warned. I promise choice, he said. Yours. My choice begins here, I said. I won't despise your caution if you don't despise my pride. I'll honor both, he said, and asked them to make room. The keeper peered in. Near impassable, he said, but a cart bullied a path to town. Then we go, Harcourt said. We go, I echoed. At the door the storm reconsidered. Take my arm, he said. For utility, I answered, accepting. For both, he said softly. Theater is utility, explaining itself. We stepped into the white roar. Speak so I don't vanish, he called. I'm here, I said. I'm here, I'm here. Then hear me, I'm sorry. I hear you, I replied. Ruts guided us toward the city. The snow loosened its grip. Tomorrow, he said, I will call. Tomorrow, I agreed. I'll listen to the end. Thank you, he said. Thank me later, I answered. Tonight, carry the basket. I'll carry what you give, he said, taking it. Even your pride. Carry your own, I said. I am, he replied, and we laughed into the storm like people discovering warmth. Grows when one finally says what one means. Softened by it, glancing at me often enough to prove he was thinking, and seldom enough to pretend he was not. Mr. Harcourt, Mrs. Peebles trilled, you disapprove of whist. What do you approve of? Bridges, he said, with a ghost's warmth. Bridges, she declared, are only roads ashamed of their wet feet. They carry weight, he answered. even when no one thanks them. Be thanked for something else, Mrs. Peebles advised. Dance. I do not, he said. You did not, she corrected. All men change when their vanity discovers a mirror. My vanity prefers stone, he replied. My chair scraped the floor with more feeling than I allowed my face. I require air, I said, to no one in particular. You require cake, Mrs. Peebles insisted, detaining me with a plate. Air is a gossip and tells nothing useful. Cake tells lies, I said. I have no appetite for fiction. Then eat truth, she retorted. It is ginger and burned sanctimoniously. I took the smallest square and found it tasted of pride and treacle. Miss Whitcomb, Mrs. Harcourt murmured at my shoulder, you are pale. I am unpainted, I said. It shows. My son, she began gently. Must never be explained to me, I finished. I understand him perfectly. You do not, she said, sorrow kind. No one does who listens at the wrong door. I listened under the right bridge, I replied. The words were not improved by the architecture. What words? She asked. Fully mother and fully fair. Enough, I said. Leave me my misunderstanding. It is tidy and keeps the room in order. Tidy rooms are for widows, she answered, not smiling. You are not one. I am not anything, I said. That is our safety. Yours? She asked. His, I said, and took another bite of honesty that refused to be sweet. Harcourt crossed to us with the exact expression of a man who distrusts all small plates. Mother, he said. Miss Whitcomb. Sir, I answered. You are displeased with me, he said, too direct for any rescue but truth. I am perfectly resigned to you, I said. Resignation is a northern virtue. I have adopted it. I prefer your southern impertinence, he returned, trying a smile that confessed surprise at itself. Then you must import it from another lady, I said. I find myself inconveniently northern this evening. Tell me why, he said, quiet enough to break a heart politely. Because I am not a spectacle and will not be spared, I said, and watched understanding refuse him. Spared? He repeated. Miss Whitcomb. Mr. Harcourt, Mr. Rowley cut in, blithe and disastrous. The Rune is abuzz with the improvement to the market crossing. They say you commanded sand like Neptune. Neptune is untidy, Harcourt said, not taking his eyes from me. I commanded coin. Coin is tidier, Rowley laughed. Miss Whitcomb, do admire him. I admire accuracy, I said. It saves sentiment the trouble of dressing. Then let me be accurate, Harcourt said, and lowered his voice further. If I have offended you, I did it unwittingly. Tell me the form of it, and I will repair it. I am not a masonry, I said. You cannot patch me with apologies and declare me sound. I would not patch you, he answered. I would prevent the damage. You were early, I said. You prevented very well. I do not understand, he murmured, genuinely at a loss. I have always admired ignorance when it is honest, I said. It wears no pride. And do not dress mine for me, he replied, color rising. Say plainly what you heard. I heard enough to know my arithmetic, I said, and to prefer silence to sums. Mr. Harcourt, Mrs. Peebles called, insufferably timely. Your mother demands you surrender your severity to the tea tray. I surrender nothing, he said, by habit, then sighed and obeyed. Child, Mrs. Peebles called, insufferably timely. Harcourt whispered to me when he had gone 2 steps. He was pushing gossip away from you, not you away from him. I am acquainted with the shape of pushing, I said. It feels the same from either side. Come to me tomorrow, she pleaded. Let me show you the sums. Numbers are honest, I said. People are arithmetic with shoulders. I cannot carry it tonight. Then carry only yourself, she said. Do not let a fragment become a verdict. A fragment is all I was offered. I replied. The rest of the evening performed civility like a minuet done without music. Miss Whitcomb, Pritchard asked softly, do you dance the last? I do not, I said, with a smile that apologized to the floor. May I fetch your cloak? He offered. You may fetch me, I said, from any conversation that threatens to continue. We stood near the window where the cold wrote advice on the glass. You look, he ventured, as if you would rather walk the walls than speak to a single person here. I would rather speak to the walls, I said. They state their case and are done. People argue, he agreed. People calculate, I corrected. Some of us add badly, he said. Some of us refuse to be counted, I answered. Which are you? He asked. Today, I said. I am long division, and I have lost the little line one draws over the repeating part. He laughed gently. Then stop repeating. Tomorrow, I said. Tonight I rehearse my composure. When it was time to leave, Aunt tucked my hand firm into her arm. Well? Polite, I said. And strained, she said. And finished, I added. For the evening, Uncle murmured. For the evening, I agreed. At the door, Harcourt stood, as if the house had appointed him its conscience. Miss Whitcomb, he said, low and urgent, do not go home angry with a sentence you did not hear to its end. I never finish other people's sentences, I said, meeting him without blinking. I prefer to finish my own. And what is the end of yours? He asked. Good night, I said. Good night, he answered, and stepped back as if I had set him free or shut him out. I did not let myself decide which. In the carriage, Aunt did not speak. Uncle did not speculate. The city slid by with its old patience. I am not offended, I said at last, voice flat as frost. I am instructed. Instructions can be wrong, Aunt murmured. Then I will correct them tomorrow, I replied. Tonight I will learn them by heart. Chapter 8, A Public Reconciliation. The lamps look like promises, I said, while Aunt straightened my gloves. Let your temper sit out the first set, she replied. The assembly rooms glowed. Before I had time to doubt, Mr. Harcourt stood before me, decided and steady. Miss Whitcomb, he said, bowing, will you grant me the first two dances? The first two? Bravado or penitence? Clarity, he answered. I wish to be seen choosing you. I thought you disliked spectacles, I murmured. I dislike confusion, he said. Allow me to correct it. Very well, I said. I accept. He offered his hand without flourish. I set mine upon it and felt steadier than the floor. Your eyes. Then stand a farther off, I said, almost laughing. We turned, cast and crossed. You are forgiven, I said under the violins. For what? For counting me when I wish to be considered. I deserve that. May I be plain? Plainness suits you. I tried to shield you from gossip, he said. I spoke as if you were not listening because I thought the city was. I regret both. You regret being overheard. I regret the unkind effect, he replied. Let me treat the cause. I am stubborn medicine. I am patient, he answered. Together we may cure us both. We changed partners, returned. You command sand and apologies with equal gravity, I said. I will command neither if you prefer. I prefer the gravity, I admitted. It keeps the room from slipping. Then let me be the weight. Do not sink us. I float when required, he said, almost smiling. Tomorrow, he said softly, may I ask your uncle's leave to walk with you by daylight, without walls to listen? You may ask him, I said. But ask me first. I am asking you now, he said. Will you walk with me, Eleanor? Yes, I said. Choose firm ground, not opinions. We will, he promised. The set ended, completely. Mrs. Peebles fluttered near. Mr. Harcourt, I never saw you embrace fashion so eagerly. I never saw fashion deserve it, he said. Miss Whitcomb wears it well. I agree, he said. Mrs. Harcourt arrived, smiling. You look like people who found your manners again. We found the missing sentence, I answered. For the second set, he asked, will you hazard the waltz? Do you gamble so boldly? Only on certainty. Tell me if I misstep. I will, I said, as the music drew a circle around us. We moved without show, with a tension that made us seem inevitable. His hand was warm through my glove. His restraint felt like respect, not distance. You hold yourself as if guarding an invisible edge, I said. I am, he replied. Yours. You require choosing, he added. I am practicing. Practice makes scandal, I said, noticing heads incline like conspirators. Let them write their tiny histories, he said. We will not live in them. You speak as if we were already plural, I whispered. I am trying the word. And how does it fit? Tightly, he said, smiling. I will grow accustomed. The waltz slowed. We stilled. He led me to a chair and stood as if the chair might attempt impertinence. You have admirers tonight, he said. They love to see you pleased. I am not a lantern, I replied. I do not exist to furnish their glow. You are a hearth, he said. You warm the house you choose. I would like to be that house. That is a builder's proposal. Not yet a proposal, he returned. A blueprint. Bring it to my uncle tomorrow, I said. Bring patience to my aunt. I will, he said. Bring forgiveness to my folly. I already carried it, I said. Thank you. Do not thank me, yet, I said. Prove me right. I will. Aunt appeared with lemonade. Well? Well, I said. Good, she murmured. Shall we be seen together longer? He asked. It will simplify explanations. Let us give them the truth, I said. It travels slower, but arrives whole. We walked the room. People greeted us with bright politeness. He ignored theater and attended to me. Are you tired? He asked. I am mended. Because of me? Because of us, I answered. The plural seems less tight. It fits you, he said. I will make it fit me too. Do, I said, and speak of me as if I am present. I will speak to you, he replied, even when you are not in the room. Reserve the best sentences for when I am. They do not exist otherwise. When he brought me my cloak, his hand paused. Not possessive, simply sure. You trust me a little, he said. A little, I admitted. Enough to dance. Enough to walk. Enough to listen to the end. I will give you ends worth hearing. Begin with tomorrow, I answered. 4 o'clock. 4, he agreed. Beneath the bridges, without misunderstanding. Without performance. Only the necessary kind, he said. The kind that looks like care. It looks well on you, I said. It looks better, because of you, he answered, and bowed with that quiet that steadies me, like a handrail. Good night, I said, lighter than I had entered. Good night, he said, as the room, gossip and all, accepted the ending we wrote. You choose a morning that flatters everything. I chose it because it flatters truth, he answered. Walk with me to the arches? I will, I said. He offered his arm. If the ground fails, I will not. You sound extravagant, I teased. I am thrifty with myself, he replied. Lavish only with promises I can keep. Then keep this one, I said. Walk slowly. Speak when ready, I said. I mean to be steady, he said. You once told me rivers have opinions. I borrow one. Eleanor, I began badly. You began perfectly for yourself, I said. It only looked imperfect from my side. I admire you, he said, simply. When you are bright, and when you are brief. When you walk without being carried. You are determined to be plain, I said softly. I ask to be useful where you are already complete, he said. I ask for partnership, not theater. You speak like a man who repairs roofs, I said. What of hearts? I do not repair yours, he said. I keep mine uncluttered, to hold. We reached the first span. Here, I said, touching the stone. I accused you of preferring walls to company. And here, he said, I learned that company can be a wall when it is you. I lean and do not fall. You have been proud, I said. I am proud, he replied. Proud that you endured my learning. I accept the confession, I said. What follows? Permission, he said quietly. May I speak to your uncle today? You may speak to me first, I answered. Ask me, and I will tell you how to ask him. Eleanor, he said, under the arch. I love you. I love how you choose meaning over noise. How you warn a room by naming what is honest. Will you marry me and let me keep my mother company by keeping you? Smiling through tears. What of joy? Joy is interest we will earn, he replied. I bring principle, devotion, patience, honesty. One more. Listen until the tea cools and truth is comfortable. I meant to guard my heart all spring, I said. Guard it, he said. Put me on the watch. You would stand long hours, I warned. I will stand, he said, and when you are tired, I will sit by the door and be quiet. Quiet is a rare love, I murmured. Nathaniel, you have earned it. Say it again, he whispered. Not the name, only the yes. Yes, I said, clear enough for the water. Yes. Thank you, he said. Your yes steadies everything. It steadies me, I said. Caution and happiness have shaken hands. The river agrees, he answered. The arches look pleased. He breathed as if a ledger had balanced. You will not regret it. I regret only that I cannot write your mother before she guesses, I said. She built my walls, he smiled. She'll be content to see them opened. You will ask Uncle? I will ask with the respect due to the man who sharpened your wit on his patience, he said, and ask your aunt for forgiveness in advance. You will be forgiven, I said. You have the inconvenient habit of improving. Permit me one immodesty, he said. Let me kiss your hand. You may, I answered, and propriety turned gracious. Walk on, he said. Walk on, I answered. Tell me what you plan. A small wedding, he said. Long true gratitude, fewer speeches, more action. A house where your laughter outranks my ledgers. A door that opens for anyone you bring. And markets with sand before the ice, I added. And chestnuts in summer, he said. Uncle will ask about accounts, I warned. He loves ledgers. I learned from you, he replied. And bring figures and patience. We will be ridiculous sometimes, I said. We will, he agreed. I will begin by telling Rowley I danced because the room insisted. And I will tell Mrs. Peebles she may spread whichever rumor she pleases, I said. Truth will outpace her. Aunt will cry, I said. My mother will cry louder, he replied. Then she will send biscuits and take credit for the weather. Do not let me grow dull, I said. I will not, he said. You will not let yourself. I will fetch your shawl when honesty chills you. Then fetch it now, I said. I am warm enough to return and cool enough for questions. We will answer them together, he said. Plural fits me better every hour. Practice, I reminded him. I am, he said. I am.